Hey folks, and welcome to the final of my patch 8.3 Catweaving guides. 3-part series where I teach you about Restoration Druid Catweaving, starting at the basics for players that are just picking up with the Resto Druid spec, those interested in pushing this playstyle as far as they can go. In this part of the guide, we'll be covering stats, enchants, consumables, talents, essences, Azeroth gear, corruption, and valuable trinkets, as well as simming your character for feral affinity DPS. That is a lot, so it will be a long and in-depth video, but before we get started, it is worth noting most of what is mentioned here is flexible. How you are playing your Catweaving character can determine what options you take. Many raw damage options will not impact your healing, and since your primary job is as a healer, you should always be aware of a balance between healing as much damage as you can, while also providing enough healing to keep everyone alive, whether it is constant healing or at major points in an encounter. That is entirely dependent on your group. Now then, let us begin with stats. While in cat or bear form, 100% of your intellect will be converted to agility, so you can safely wear intellect gear in gems. Intellect tends to be quite valuable, and this will make your best gear normally your highest item level piece, apart from rings and trinkets, depending on secondary stats. Of our 4 secondary stats, crit, haste, and versatility all relatively balanced. What is best will depend on your own stat weights. Crit tends to be better on single target, while haste can allow for an easier uptime of rip on 2 targets, but as a general rule, whatever is the highest item level without mastery is good. To find out what is best, you will need to sim your own stat weights, and we will get to that later. You may hear that a lot. Mastery, even before its 8.3 nerf, did not increase damage in any way, and so should not be used. For a weapon enchant, Machinist Brilliance still provides some DPS benefits, along with being the optimal enchant for healing. However, for raw damage, you want to go for either Versatile Navigation, Deadly Navigation for crit, or Quick Navigation for haste. Which of these is best for you depends on your own gear, so you need to sim all options. This applies to ring enchants too. Whatever you do, just do not enchant mastery. As you would expect, you should have an intellect flask and augment rune active at all times. In regards to food, haste, crit, or versatility all works. I would recommend whatever is easier for you to acquire, mob killing for haste, fishing for crit, or whatever is cheaper on the auction house. For a potion of Unbridled Fury will generate the highest damage over its duration and is a great one to use if you can spend the time doing damage, such as early in most boss encounters. Intellect potions work as more middle ground, giving you both the benefits of damage and healing. While only one talent line actually increases our damage output, you should aim to make your healing as time efficient as possible with your other talents. On row 15, Cenarian Ward fits this category. It is a powerful heal on a single global cooldown. Prosperity is also popular, while having lower throughput is more flexible and ties in with Soul of the Forest. Abundance requires spending a large number of rejuvenation and spending time casting, something at odds with the Catweaving playstyle, so it is not ideal. On row 30, any of the mobility talents are fine, Tiger Dash or Wild Charge. You should choose whatever you are most comfortable with. I prefer Wild Charge because I find Dash sufficient and I enjoy leaping around as a doe. On row 45, Feral Affinity is pretty good, I'd take that. On row 60, you can take any, and it really depends on the content you are doing. Stuns are good sometimes, knockback others. Mass Entanglement can be amazing on select bosses. On row 75, each of the talents have their uses. Soul of the Forest is a good choice if you took Prosperity. Cultivation works very well as consistent healing without using an extra global cooldown, good for dungeons and is my preferred choice. Tree of Life is good if your playstyle, namely in raids, involves only healing select periods of the fight where damage is very high. On row 90, Spring Blossoms is almost always the pick. Many fights allow you to stack up, and it turns the already efficient healing per global cooldown Efflorescence into something even stronger, and it only requires a single cast every 30 seconds. If the numbers line up or you cannot stack, Inner Peace can work. If your tank is your concern, you can take Stonebark, but it should not be required. On row 100, we have another choice between consistent healing with Photosynthesis and cooldown based Flourish. Photosynthesis is a great way to immediately leave cat form with a self-cast macro and transition into your healing mode, and is the main choice for dungeons. Flourish requires a bit more setup beforehand, but it works very well with Trank and Inner Peace, and best fits the cooldown healing style of Catweaving. Germination requires you to spend double the global cooldowns, meaning less time in cat form, so it is not taken. There are a number of choices for essences. On paper, World Vein as a major gives you access to the highest damage increase and an offensive cooldown, but combined with corruption and other mechanics, it is not always that simple. Essence of Flame is usually preferred. It does less, but this is much more flexible and is great for priority targets such as explosive orbs or ads. The new raid essence, Formless Void, is a good choice as well if you can find someone to use it on, while also granting you valuable corruption resistance. As miners, Conflict and Strife is one of the best as it provides raw stats. Most healer essences do not increase damage, so you will often have to rely on stats. The Formless Void also provides raw stats, and along with corruption resistance is a good pick. If you took Essence of Flame as your major, you'll proc it often yourself without needing anyone else. For a third, Essence of Flame is of course a solid option if you did not take it as a major, providing raw damage. As with other choices, despite it proccing from heals only, Ever Rising Time does grant intellect depending on how often you swap to heal. World Vein provides more intellect on a regular basis despite its limitations on positioning. Unlike the last two, Unwavering Ward may not directly increase your damage, but it provides passive healing that allows you to spend more time as a cat, while also providing corruption resistance, allowing you to wear more DPS based corruptive gear. This effect is unique with the Formless Void, so you cannot have 20 resistance.
A recurring theme already seen, but explored more now, is the idea of proc damage. Healers are not designed to deal damage well, so they tend to scale less well than DPS. To this end, procs that deal flat damage tend to be good for healers as it scales independent of our stats. The downside is that these procs provide no healing benefit usually, so how much you go in on these depends on the balance you personally need. Very few traits benefit both healing and damage.
For your first reign, you'll be forced to take a spec specific trait. You can change specs to feral, take the trait, change specs back, and still wear the gear. Not many, but some feral traits will work for you. As a general rule though, you should take at least one Grove Mending, as it is a powerful trait the first time taken despite no DPS potential. High Noon is always your most powerful stat, followed by Rakian Ferocity and Power of the Moon. In your second reign, you'll have access to non-spec specific traits. For single target, Dagger in the Back, Razan's Fury, Tidal Surge, Blightborn Infusion, Filthy Transfusion, Thunderous Blast, Swirling Sands, Meticulous Scheming, Ruinous Bolt, and Bloodrite all surpass High Noon. For multiple targets, the 3 spec traits mentioned before work best, but all traits mentioned for single target work to varying degrees. For a full list, you can check out Icy Veins' simulation linked in the description below. In the next reign, you often only have one viable choice, as one will be healing focused, the other tanking. However, if offered stats such as Light Speed, note the damage focused traits such as Gut Ripper and Heal My Cool are strong but do not assist healing. The simulations are in the same place as before.
Corruption offers us amazing benefits to our damage, as it is an entire system we have access to. Damage based procs such as Echoing Void or Gushing Wounds can make up a large portion of your damage and will likely be what you go for over stats, unless you want a healthier balance of damage and healing. Since the acquisition is random, you cannot search for specific items or corruptions, so your best bet is to sim any pieces you have while staying below the threshold you wish. I personally stay below 40. How to sim your gear will be explained soon, don't worry.
As mentioned before, damage based procs or uses are keys for good Catweaving damage, and trinkets are no different. The top 5 trinkets that change position based on the number of targets all look very similar. They all have pure intellect on them and a damaging proc or on use. Be aware most of these are only available as balance, so change your loot spec if needed. As a general rule, I always stay in balanced loot spec. Rock Crusted Voodoo Doll is the best on single targets and drops from Underopt, Boss 1. Forbidden Obsidian Claw is the only raid drop on this list from Mort and is the second best on single target. Lady Waycrest Music Box drops from Waycrest Manor, Boss 4, and is the third best, while also combining quite nicely with her ring to provide a passive, healing or damage depending on what you are doing. Vessel of Skittering Shadows is 4th from Atal Dazar, Boss 5. Last of the top 5, but best for multiple targets, is Hadal's Nautilus from Boss 3, Siege of Paralis. Simming is a valuable tool for any DPS, and it stays true for a healer doing DPS. Simming is not designed for healers, but thanks to a passionate Resto Druid community and some amazing websites, we have access to Feral Affinity Simming. The links to all of these websites will be in the comments below, don't worry. To begin with, download the SimCraft add-on. This will add an icon to your minimap frame that will give you something to copy. Make sure you are in Resto with Feral Affinity before doing this. I would also have all corrupted pieces in your bags as well. Do this, then head to raidbots.com. From here, head to what you want to know, normally Top Gear. Paste your copied information in the Load to SimC add-on box. Then scroll down to a section called Custom APL and SimC Options. Now in another window, open up the website shown on screen. It will be linked in the description. In there, scroll down to Raw Paste Data, copy the box and paste in the Custom APL and SimC options on RaidBots. Once you've done this, RaidBots will remember so you won't have to act it out every time. Now simply select all of the pieces you want to try out. You can set a custom corruption bar with the non-premium version. Select a few combinations and if need be run a few different options to find your best.
Thank you very much for watching and listening. A big thank you to the questionably epic website. As a Resto Druid, you are very lucky to have such a solid fan site. Also thank you to Icy Veins and Simulations and Torty's Simming APL. All of these links are in the description. And finally, a thanks to my Mythic Plus team for helping out with the script.